We are discussing the process scheduling. So we have the process in various state. So the process in ready state, the act of finding out and determining which process which is in the ready state should be moved to the running state. Ready state to running state is known as the process scheduling. Ready state means the process is ready to be taken control by the processor. So processor can act on it. Now it is in ready state. Now who is going to decide that which ready state process is to be given to the processor, that is it has to come to the running state. So the aim is, the key idea is that the process scheduling system is to keep the CPU busy all the time, and the response time should be as minimum as possible for all the programs. So in order to get this or achieve this, the scheduler need to apply certain rules for swapping process in and then out of CPU. So CPU is there, ready state, it has, the process will come here, it will be in running state. So to keep it in and then roll out, this is the how to do it. The rules are done by the scheduler. So scheduler can be divided into two general categories: non-preemptive scheduling and preemptive scheduling. Non-preemptive and preemptive. So non-preemptive means when the currently executing process gives up to the CPU voluntarily. Nobody can, no other process or action can do this. Only the process which is executing will leave voluntarily. The second is preemptive. That is, now the operating system is going to decide who or prioritize or the favor another process, preempting the currently executing process. Scheduling queues. All processes, when they enter into the system, they are stored in where? A job queue. A job queue. So process in the ready state, they are placed in ready queue. So there is another queue which is, this is job queue, this is ready queue. So process waiting for a device to become available, these are placed in device queue. These are unique device queues, or there are unique device queues for each input-output device which are available. A new process is initially put where? In the ready queue, here. It waits in the ready queue until it is selected for execution, or you can also call it as dispatched. Dispatched. So once the process is assigned the CPU and it is executing one, there are certain events that may occur. First is, I'm reiterating, when the process is assigned to the CPU and while it is executing, there are certain events that can occur. First is, the process could issue an IO request and then it will be placed in input-output queue. The process may create a new sub-process and it will wait for its termination. Or the process could be removed forcibly from the CPU. It may be the result of interrupt and it will be put back where? Again in the ready queue. So a new process is initially put in the ready queue. It waits in the ready queue until it is selected, as I just said. So this is the process which is going on. Ready queue. Then this is input output queue, this is input output queue, input output, this is input output request, this is the time slice. Here we can fork a child executes and it will wait for an interrupt and the interrupt occurs. So again it will, in all the cases, in all these cases, for input output request, when it is done, it will go to ready queue. If time slice expired, it will go to ready queue. When it forks a child, the child executes, it will go to the ready queue, and if it is waiting for some interrupt and interrupt occurs, it will again go back to the ready queue to be handled by CPU. So in these first two cases, the process eventually switches from the waiting state to the ready state. That is, it is waiting for some input-output request or some other stuff, and then again it is put back in the ready queue. So the process continues this cycle until it is going to terminate. At this time, it is removed from all the queues and then has its PCB and the resource these two deallocated. So there are types of schedulers. There are three types of schedulers mainly: long-term scheduler, short-term scheduler. One more scheduler is there. We're going to talk about that. So what is a long-term scheduler? This runs less frequently than the others. This LTS, it decides which program must get into the job queue. So in job queue, which process has to go, this is decided by the long-term scheduler. And for the job queue, the job processor, it selects processor and loads them into the memory for the execution. So the primary idea of this job scheduler is to maintain a good degree of multi-programming here. So that if the degree of multi-programming is optimal, an optimal degree of multi-programming, this means that the average rate of the process creation should be equal to the average departure rate of the process from the execution memory. Short-term scheduler. Short-term scheduler. This is also known as a CPU scheduler, and it runs very frequently. So the aim of this scheduler is to enhance the CPU performance and also to increase the process execution rate. Then we have the third scheduler, which is the medium-term scheduler. Medium-term scheduler. What it does, see, this is the diagram, please concentrate on this. This scheduler, mid-term scheduler, removes the process from the memory and from the contention of the CPU. That is, it reduces the degree of multi-programming. At some later time, the process can be reintroduced in the memory again, and its execution can be continued from where it actually left off. And this is called the swapping. And the process is swapped out, then swapped in by the medium-term scheduler. So swapping may be necessary to improve, say, the process mix, or because a change in memory requirements, they have overcommitted available memory, requiring the memory to be freed up. This complete process is shown here. What is happening here is, this is a CPU. Now it is being swapped out while it is working, means executing. Partially executed swapped out process, and then it is swapped in from where it left off to the ready queue. Then again it goes to the CPU. Right? This is the mid-term scheduler to the queuing diagram. Context switch. Now this is a very important concept. What is the context switch? It comes in very much related to the scheduling. So switching the CPU to another process means CPU is working here on this. When you are switching the CPU to another process, say P2, it requires certain tasks, that is saving the state of the old process, loading the new saved state of the new process. This is known as the context switch, and this is a overhead. So the context of the process is represented by PCB, process control block of the process, and it includes the CPU register, the process state, the memory management information, etc. So when the context switch occurs like this, the kernel is going to save the context of the old processor in its PCB and then loads the saved context of the new process, which is scheduled to run. And this is a complete pure overhead, because the system does not do anything. The system does no useful work while switching. So its speed varies from machine to machine depending on the memory speed and the number of registers that must be copied, and the existence of special instruction such as a single instruction to load or store all registers. And typically this speed range from 1 to 1000 microseconds. So context switching is a performance bottleneck overhead that programmers are using new structures, that is threads, to avoid it as possible, because this overhead has to be removed or maybe minimized so that the actual execution can be done. So this is about scheduling. 3 types of schedulers we have seen. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.